So the biggest fear in the market right now is Liberation Day, which is coming up tomorrow, April 2nd. And many of the bears are calling it Liquidation Day. I'm not so bearish. I think there's a very good chance we see a reversal in this coming week. But, when you take a step back, there is a lot of negativity in the markets right now. Things like the US government wanting to cut the deficit. You've got data coming out showing signs of weakness in the economy. And then on top of all that, you've got the Fed who are holding rates higher for longer. So really, these last 3 months, we really haven't had a lot to be bullish about. But when it comes to the deficit and cutting the deficit, I think, up until this point, that's actually been a huge stimulus for assets like the stock market and crypto. And if they were to actually cut the deficit, it would be like pulling the plug on growth and GDP. And I just think that's really unlikely, especially in the first year of Trump getting in, that they would do that. Now, if we do let GDP stay negative for another couple of months, I think that they will have to pivot. And that pivot will come from either a change in policy or the Fed stepping in and having to cut the rates. So long term, second half of 2025, I definitely think is going to be good overall. But we are in a sticky spot right now. But we're going to take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin right now. So let's hop over into the charts. So I've got Bitcoin up here in front of me. And one thing that I want to point out is, and it's been talked about recently this week, about the global money supply, the M2 global money supply. And it's really interesting actually to look at that alongside Bitcoin. I'll pull it up here on my chart. So what I've done here is we've got the global M2 money supply on the yellow line across Bitcoin's price action. If we look, now this is offset by about 108 days. There's another guy I seen with this on his chart, and I just wanted to point it out to you all. But if you look at the M2 money supply, when it's gone up, it's Bitcoin's price action follows very closely. Here that we're looking at on the right of the screen in M2 money supply has already happened. And if we even just look at when M2 has corrected on the 180-day difference, it almost aligns perfectly. So, if something like this was to play out, you're basically looking at, a low being put in by May 1st, and then, May 1st, the month of May, should be following this. If it does, it would be green. So I just find that very interesting that, that bottom that went in there happened almost identically. Even this rise up, this drop, and back down, and now we're obviously pushing up today. So there is still a chance for some more downside, but I think we're very close to finding that low. And again, this isn't 100% accurate in terms of daily. Some people like to go 70 days. I have it set here to 108 days. If you do set it to 70, it doesn't line up exactly the same. It shifts over a little bit, but it still lines up pretty well. If you were to go by the 70-day mark, it would be suggesting that the low is in at this point, and we're done with this chop, and possibly April we could see this rise up. But yeah, something I wanted to point out. Bitcoin right now is trading at just above 85k, which is really good considering the news that we're going into tomorrow. But don't be surprised if it does, fall a little bit overnight and into tomorrow. I would expect something like that. We've also got this downward channel, and we're approaching the top of it again. So I think 86k, I've got a line marked in my chart here. I think 86k as a psychological level would be a typical level to reject. You've got a little bit of supply up here, basically off this one candle. So, if we tap up into that candle, I could see us pull back into the low 80s again. But as of tomorrow, I think, we might not see our reversal tomorrow, but I think after 3 or 4 days, see how it all plays out. And there's obviously going to be other countries might retaliate and things like that, which would cause some chop. But I think once we're through this and we get some certainty, I think it'll help markets a lot, because it's not even that the tariffs are the problem, it's the uncertainty. And basically, since January 22nd, he announced tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and basically it's destroyed markets. And throughout all of this, he's been chopping and changing his mind throughout the whole time, and that's what's caused this chop downwards. So get some certainty back. I think that we can see a rally here. But other things that I just want to point out is, when everyone is scared and the headlines are very bearish, that is typically when we find a bottom and get a reversal. Just like when things are super bullish and we're in euphoria across the board, that is when we find a top and tend to, pull back. And I just don't feel like this is full-blown bull market euphoria just yet. And I think this little pullback is extremely healthy to allow for that last and strongest leg up, where we're probably going to see that euphoria. If I switch over here onto the rainbow chart, it's not something that I use a lot, but if you look at just other cycles and where we've tracked along the rainbow chart, we haven't even got into the amber this cycle. So I think there could be a very good 6 months ahead. If we go back and look at Bitcoin just from previous cycles, cycle that I want to bring you back to is last time Trump got in. So that would have been 2016. And if we just go and zoom in and look at what price was doing around that time to get a better idea, we had our bear market low here, and price rallied up into the election. And then when Trump got in, here's to January, it was a bad month, and we basically went sideways. January, February, March, you could even say April. We were trading below the highs, the high from November. So this is normal. And if we look at this is a monthly chart. If we look at the percentage drop we had just in that 1 month, we had a 24% drop in January alone. And then from that high that we put in on November, we had a 31% correction, basically from November, December. So following that, we got quite an aggressive move, some little pullbacks here and there. But once momentum, got going, we really seen a massive push. And that basically lasted, obviously, to the peak. But if we measure that from basically Trump's presidency when he got in to that month of euphoria, 23 months. So that was basically the whole, bullish phase right there. So if you look where we're at in the chart, yes, we have been in a bull run here for much longer than that last cycle. So I don't think we're going to get 23 months straight up like that. But I think there's reason to believe, we've got 6 to 12 months of good times ahead of us. Oftentimes, the recession talks you're seeing now come up at ideal times to, get the market to contract, but then they start to fade off to only eventually raise their head later on. So it would make more sense to me, for things to settle down and us to actually rally quite a bit over the next 6 to 12 months before maybe those recession fears that we're talking about now actually come into effect and we actually do face a recession sometime in 2026. So that's my view on the market. I hope that helps ease some of your worries. Obviously, stay alert, stay conscious to what's happening. Keep an eye on the news tomorrow. But I don't think all hope is lost. I don't think now is the time to be capitulating. You got to stay strong and see how the next 2 to 3 months pan out. Okay, that's all from me today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow for more updates.